Welcome to this short video about early adoption for the K-3 formative assessment process.
So we have been, districts have been asking us if we're implementing the KEA now, what's next?
Well, we currently have several districts that have joined us as early adopters. You can see them on the map. We have some in the western part of the state, in the northwest, you can see in the southwest, the Piedmont Triad, the Sandhills, and in the northeast, you can see them marked on our map. These districts are across the state are the first to engage in scaling up of the K-3 formative assessment process. And as early adopters, they're the first to embrace this new practice. So as you can see in the picture on the screen, they serve as a model and pave the way for other districts throughout the state. So they're engaging in the scale up beyond what they're doing with the kindergarten entry assessment and figuring out what it might look like in their district for K-3. They've identified a 3 to 5 year process, and they're working toward that goal in order for it to be a model for the rest of the state.
So how does the KEA and the NC K-3 formative assessment process fit together?
That's a great question, and we get that a lot. If you look at the visual on the screen, what you can see is that the large red circle is the K-3 formative assessment process. And then the KEA is a piece of that. And it's also a formative assessment process. So teachers will begin the kindergarten entry process when students enter school for the first 60 days and then continue with formative assessment. And the K-3 formative assessment process is the same process, and it will continue from the time students enter kindergarten until 3rd grade. And it's meant to guide instruction that's developmentally appropriate and centered on the whole child.
And this leads to the next question that we often get. What are the construct progressions for the NC K-3 formative assessment process?
So this is a visual that shows how these construct progressions are interrelated. First, let's look at the column on the left. These are the domains. So there are 5 domains of learning and development. And you can see those there: approaches to learning, cognitive, emotional, social, health and physical, and language development and communication. Now within these domains, there are some KEA construct progressions that were designed for the kindergarten entry assessment, and there are some that are K-3 construct progressions. And they're color-coded there. The kindergarten entry are a peachy color, and the K-3 are a green color. But then you'll also see that they're designated by developmental age. So let's just look at approaches to learning. Engagement in self-selected activities is a required KEA construct progression. That construct progression can actually be used as a tool from developmental age 3 to 10, so far beyond what we might see in kindergarten only. But it is a construct progression for the kindergarten entry assessment, and it pairs well with the perseverance in assigned activities construct progression, and the two of those together make up the approaches to learning domain. And you'll see the same thing for cognitive development. You have one that is kindergarten entry and required the object counting, and can be used well beyond developmental age 6, because you can see it's developmental age 3 to 10. And then you have the problem solving construct progression, and the two of those make up cognitive development. Let's move on to something that looks slightly different. If we look at health and physical development, we have crossing midline, grip and manipulation, and hand dominance. Those 3 construct progressions really focus on developmental age 3 to 6, which is kindergarten, that kindergarten range. And they are required KEA constructs. And then you have gross motor, walking pathways and stair climbing, which goes beyond, and that is developmental age 3 to 10, so can be used in kindergarten, but also moves beyond into first, second, and third grade. So this nice visual of the construct progressions are meant to show you how they relate to each other and which constructs might be helpful to you beyond the kindergarten entry, beyond kindergarten, into first, second, and third grade.
So now that I understand how the KEA is related to the North Carolina K-3 formative assessment process, what is involved if I'm interested in being an early adopter?
So here's what early adoption involves. First of all, we are partnering with you. You are partnering with us, and that involves a lot of regional support. You develop your own implementation plans and set your own goals to competently and confidently scale up this K-3 formative assessment process, and again in that 3 to 5 year time span that we talked about before. And all the while doing that, you receive technical assistance and support from your regional implementation team.
So what are the benefits to being an early adopter?
So here's that what's in it for me question, right? Why would I want to do this? First, you can see, look at these great teams of early adopters working together. This happens in Greensboro a couple of times a year. The early adopter community of practice comes together. And here, district teams come together as early adopters, and they plan and share and learn from each other. And talk about how these constructs and adopting them and using them within their formative assessment process is making a difference, and what the difference it's making for their students and their teachers, and learn pathways for implementation from each other. The other benefit of several benefits, but some other benefits of being an early adopter is that we've provided these online resources and coaching support. So we have a practice profile, which you've probably heard about. So we have this practice profile. We'll support you through the coaching process, and then we'll support you on site. So in partnering with your regional implementation team, we'll be with you to help build your capacity of the educators in your district and your district team leadership.
But so now I'm really interested in knowing, what do the early adopters say themselves?
Well, I was tempted to say this before when we were in the "What's in it for me" question. So here's something that Rockingham County Schools is saying. This is actually from part of a slideshow that they were presenting to others. They said, "We design the implementation and set district goals." This was super important to them because they could list quickly 6 to 8 initiatives that were high priorities for the district. And what they wanted was something that could add value to what they were doing already. So they wanted to design it and set the goals. So they found quickly that by using formative assessment, expanding what they were doing with formative assessment to include emotion regulation and reading, that would add value to their MTSS implementation, and also what they were doing around healthy schools and mental health initiatives. And their first grade teachers were excited to begin this work. And then here's something that the Newton-Conover district is talking about. They said, "We are modeling our K-3 implementation after our successful kindergarten approach." And here you'll see that they have a coaching model in place that's just working really well for them. So with the support of lead teachers at each grade level, Newton Conover will implement in 3 years. And they have a whole child focus and buy-in across the district.
So, how do we know if we're ready to be an early adopter?
Oh, that is an excellent question because it feels like we all have so much going on. So first you want to ensure that this is something that's going to add value to your work. And take a look at your district implementation team because that's where the magic's going to happen, right? They're at the center of the success. So here are the things that the district implementation team can help accomplish. They prepare district and school leaders, that's that bubble to the left. They are going to partner with the regional team, and your regional team members will provide support. They support educator capacity, so when first grade teachers come on board, building their capacity around formative assessment and the tools that they'll use for that, including the construct progressions and the platform. They engage family and community stakeholders. So they're communicating out what is this and ensuring that people have some confidence and comfort with it. And they're building level implementation teams and supporting them. So your district implementation team is the center of where it all happens, and when they're ready, then your district is ready.
Okay.
And here's your check sheet. See, I said all of that without looking at the check sheet. So are we ready? Here's just a quick check off. These are things to have in place to ensure that you're ready for this process to begin. District leadership that's engaged. A decision maker on our DIT, and that's your district implementation team. And this is just a deal breaker. If you need a decision maker on your DIT who can say, yes, we're ready to move forward with that, and that looks to others for their opinions and support on these decisions, but then can make it happen in the district. And then a DIT that will take on the work involved in implementation. So once we've made that decision, who's going to take on these tasks? And we are committed and we have buy-in and we're ready to move forward. And a PD team that can support educators and ensure that they have the capacity to move forward, right? And then a PD plan that we use and share with your regional team so that your regional team can support you with your PD.
So if we're ready with these structures, and if we are ready to work with our regional implementation team, then we are going to contact our regional implementation consultants and begin the conversation.
That's right. And here you are. Here's our fantastic regional implementation team. And you can just reach out to Cindy Dewey, that's me, or Nikki Young. She's the consultant for the Northwest, just to set up a meeting and begin the conversation.